Hello and welcome to another edition of On Board with Cruise Passenger. I'm Rose Jacobs, your host.
And I'm Peter Lynch, Editor-in-Chief of cruisepassenger.com.au and Cruise and Travel Magazine.
Well, I'm pretty excited to be chatting today. We are going to be talking about three of my favourite things, Peter. River cruising, for a start, my absolute favourite style of cruising.
Love that.
Can you guess the second thing, Peter?
Well, now, I'm going to guess it's something to do with luxury, though that hat could be a clue. Perhaps it's our sponsor today, who are experts in ultra-luxury, Scenic.
That's exactly right. You know me so well. And the third is the destination. You got it in one. Today, we are heading deep into the heart of Southeast Asia, in particular Vietnam and Cambodia, both on my personal bucket list.
Part of the world that's dear to my heart, Rose. I've been cruising there several times, and it certainly is a great cultural melting pot. There isn't a better or a more comfortable way to do these countries than by river ship.
Oh, and definitely one that has been especially created for this location, the Scenic Spirit.
Yes, and you can save up to $4,000 on a majestic Mekong journey if you book early. We'll tell you a little bit more about those special offers at the end of the podcast.
Yes, stick around for that. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
Yes.
And to bring all of this to life today, we're joined by not just an expert, but the expert on the ground, Adam Burke, who is the journey designer and product manager for Scenic, specializing in Asia. Journey designer, that's pretty much code for the dude who gets to try all the awesome destinations and hand select the best places to visit. Am I right?
What a great job. And Adam is a fascinating guy who's been a Navy maritime warfare officer and served in Southeast Asia. There's very little he doesn't know about the very best of the Mekong region.
Well, I can't wait to hear all of Adam's insider tips and insights into what the Mekong has to offer for 2023 and 24. But I have to say, Peter, I've cruised a bunch of rivers with Scenic in my time. I've been a very lucky girl. You too, including the Danube and throughout France. But I'm imagining that the Mekong will be an entirely new world.
Yes, Rose. For a start, there aren't many castles, so you might notice that. Though there is the odd royal palace and certainly a lot of temples. Adam, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you, Rose and Peter.
Hi.
Great to have you with us.
Well,
Good to be here.
I've got to say, tough gig you've got there. Journey designer for one of the world's most exclusive cruise lines in one of the most exotic parts of the globe. How did you find yourself in a role such as this?
I suppose it just fell into it in the sense, once I got out of the Navy, my first job in travel was working for a Vietnam specialist right at the time when Vietnam was literally just opening up. So from there, I then moved into another role, another Asian tour operator again, and they brought me across to improve their Vietnam and Indochina product, which I did, and I was there for over 11 years. And then Scenic brought me across to basically launch their own rivers when we first started operating our own ships on the Mekong and Irrawaddy. So I've been there ever since, right from the beginning, from the ships are being built.
Wow.
Through to designing and the itineraries to this day. It's an ever-evolving process, never stops.
You must be called Mr. Mekong in the office. So how do you how do you go about designing a journey for Scenic? I'm sure you want to show them the real Southeast Asia. Do you try everything before you put it out on the market?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what it is. It's about getting our guests into Asia and feeling the real and living, experiencing the real life of Asia. So there's a couple of ways we do that. And obviously one is me going on the ground and traveling through the region on what I say is like more one of my investigative type trips, where I actually take advantage of Scenic having their own office in Ho Chi Minh and in Phnom Penh for our own staff, and with them, in conjunction with them. And they're constantly also giving me updates and keeping me finger on the pulse of what's new, what's coming about, what's changing, that sort of stuff. But it's me going on the ground and looking for things and looking what our guests can get involved in and do ourselves, and whatever's most immersive and active is what our guests love doing. So that's what we look for. That's what we do. And then another style of the trip is that I might go back and actually jump in and out of a cruise or tour and see how that's working, and making sure that what the idea was at the beginning when we found it is actually working on the ground. And So seeing it in action, and if it needs any tweaks or anything like that, we can do that, and getting that feedback from the guests.
Adam, I need to know, do you go in sort of incognito, sort of in disguise? You don't tell people who you are?
Wearing stuff like wearing stuff like
I'm
this.
Europe, but no, not in Asia. I'm usually full, well, the Asian staff always in uniform and as such. And so, because I want to know what's happening, and I don't want it. I don't want it sugar-coated. So, people know I'm there and there for that reason, and making sure it works, and seeing how the staff are going, and because it's all about it's our staff and everything like that. So we're really involved in making sure it all works correctly.
Absolutely.
Now, so let's get straight into this part of the world, which is, as I've said, a part of the world I really love. So what's so alluring? Why is the Mekong and the rivers in Southeast Asia so very special?
I think the rivers themselves are like they're the highways of Asia. So so much commerce and trade and everything that happens on the rivers. So, but going to Asia per se, it's obviously it's Australians and New Zealanders. It's close. It's people are very familiar with it. They love the food, and so to actually then go there and have the food firsthand per se. There's a lot of shared history with the region, but I think the biggest thing obviously is the people. They're so friendly, so willing. And there's such a young demographic in Indochina, partly because of the mixed history, but it's that personal connections that people will make when they go there, and particularly we've had tour directors who are with the guests from start to finish, from when they arrive, and doesn't matter what part of the country it is, to when they leave to finish their holiday. That our local tour directors, they bond with the group so much, and same with the guests, the staff on board, that I think that's what really sticks to people's memories of their trips.
Sounds extraordinary. And I'm definitely beginning to see why you love this region so much, Peter. Now, I'm yet to experience personally this part of Southeast Asia. You mentioned you mentioned the Irrawaddy. I've been fortunate enough to cruise that, but it's definitely fast moving up as a priority on my bucket list, I have to say, after hearing what you've got to say on this, Adam. And now, to my understanding, these river systems, as you've said, they are the absolute heart of these regions. So, really to travel to Vietnam or Cambodia, you're crazy not to do that via the rivers as a cruise. To do it by land, you're really missing out on the whole point.
It is like our holidays to Indochina are a mix of the two. Like the cruise obviously is a central part of it, and a lot of reason why people come. But we sell it as a land and cruise journey, but we do it as a small group, so maximum 24 people.
Perfect.
And when you get to the ship, it's only 68, and the space ratio of the ship, so the size of the ship to the amount of people on board, is massive. Even to your cabins, there are large cabins which. They're not just the bedroom, the bedroom and the bathroom and a living room as well. Yes. So with the balcony.
That's my luxury right there. Is just
well, that's it.
And
you're doing it in luxury. That's the thing. So
yes.
You're seeing it as a river cruise, and you're seeing a part of the country which you wouldn't normally actually get access to, because in this area, in the Delta, the roads aren't as developed, obviously, and it's a lot harder to get around. So you got to be seeing things on the river, which you wouldn't normally see just in a normal land journey.
Yes, I mean, absolutely true. I can remember actually waking up one morning and the rice farmers were actually waving at us because we were such an extraordinary sight, presumably at that time in the morning.
Is that because you're wearing your dressing gown?
Could well have been. Could well have been. Thank goodness I was wearing a dressing gown. But they were so amazingly friendly, and when we went on shore excursions, they just couldn't wait really to talk to us. And you're right, there is an extraordinary familiarity about it, because Australians really do love Vietnamese food.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
And with Scenic, I believe there's a great emphasis on guests getting an enriching moment in the region. And that's really important, isn't it? Talk us through some of the experiences on the 2023-2024 itineraries in Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia.
Yeah, so one of the biggest selling points, I suppose, with the Scenic itineraries is we do these activities which guests would not be able to do if they just went there by themselves. So, some of the things like after, we go and do sunrise at Angkor Wat. Everyone does sunrise at Angkor Wat, but then we then take them away from that and put on a large champagne breakfast, which supports a local NGO bakery school. But we do this by the water at an actual local pagoda. And again, it's supporting, giving back to the local community as well. But these are things that the guests wouldn't be able to do. It's things like going to a behind the scenes rum distillery tour as part of your Remork Tuk Tuk night tour.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is just for us. We get there, we get to talk to the makers and the brewers of the rum and try
no drivers allowed, I'm sure.
No, that's right. That's why we're getting driven around by those remorks.
Yeah.
Amazing.
To blessings that we do in the temples and alms giving, that sort of stuff. So it's and then a lot of this is in Cambodia, but the same also in Vietnam. And on the shorter trips finishing in Siem Reap and Ho Chi Minh, they're just the essentials of the cities that you would need to see as part of your river cruise.
Incredible. And I imagine that's where the memories are made. That's where those magical moments that you simply cannot plan for, those impromptu moments of connection with each other, with the culture you're visiting, riding around at night in the back of your tuk-tuk. Honestly, I couldn't think of anything more wild and fun.
On the river cruise, we actually have I suppose the most popular and high scoring and rich activity in all scenic, and that's our temple dinner in Siem Reap, which is where you have actually a cocktail party, then move into a full gala dinner, sit down with light show and Apsara dancers, and the king even visits as part of the show. So that absolutely blows people's.
When say the king, are you talking about Glenn Moroney, the owner
of
or
Elvis Presley?
This is actually Glenn's favourite enriched. It is actually his favourite enriched activity. So, but I've had guests line up afterwards, but I've been there and they've lined up afterwards and said they're just totally blown away by this dinner, and particularly because it's something that's only ever available to corporate events, massive, 300 people scale events, where we've brought this sort of activity into a tour. And they start setting up at 1:30 in the afternoon, and they don't pull it down until after we finish at 9:30 at night.
Peter, I believe you're a huge fan of Ho Chi Minh City.
I love Ho Chi Minh. I think the way they've now, they've done a lot of work in the city, recreating those gorgeous French quarters. The hotels now look magnificent. It's a really, really beautiful city to go in. The food, gorgeous, because you've got that fabulous mix, classic banh mi, really, the French baguette and the gorgeous vegetables from Vietnam. I really do love it. And the roads are filled with Honda cycles, which which I've got to say, even though I've been back there a number of times, and people do tell you just wade out there with your eyes fixed on the other side of the street.
Oh my gosh!
Don't stop.
Yes,
it is heart-stopping, but they really do pass you by. It's just like being in the middle of the sea.
Yeah, like parting of the
parting water. Yep.
Yes, I can imagine it now.
And some of them have, mum, dad, 2 kids. Yeah. It's there's nothing they can't get over.
And
chickens.
It's the kids riding the motorcycle.
It's more than 2 kids on them.
So
3
true.
dogs. Yes,
you're absolutely right.
Wow. So would that be a little bit disconcerting when you first go, Peter?
Well, look, it takes a while to actually put your foot into the road, but then everyone stops, and it's not like anybody yells at you. They're perfectly happy, and they don't make a fuss.
Just keep smiling.
Imagine that in Sydney. Maybe not.
No, maybe not. So tell us a little bit about the incredible foodie tour, Adam.
Carrying on from the Vespers, this is our way of getting people to actually experience really the lifestyle of the locals. You don't drive it yourself, but you ride on the back of a Vespa, and then we take you around to a few different local street food restaurants. So you really are living the lifestyle of the local, traveling how they do, eating where they eat, and guests absolutely love it. Again, this is one of our highest rating free choices in scenic across the whole fleet. Even so much that we also introduced it into Hanoi, because what was happening, people were not choosing to do it because they were timid about being on the back of a Vespa, and then listening the next morning to other guests who did it and go, bugger, should
Yeah,
have done that.
yes,
So
yes.
we now do it in Hanoi. So the ones that are doing the longer land tours, they've got two chances. So if they
I
still
love
don't do
it.
it in Hanoi,
I
they've
love
got
it.
another chance to do it in Saigon. The
Let your
guests love it.
hair flow in the breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might all
Yeah.
be hanging on tight to start with, but I
Hanging on tight. Gotta say, Adam, I'm a hanging on tight kind of guy. But there is nothing like a food market in this region. They are extraordinary. The vegetables are amazing. You know, the fish that's on sale. It is so worthwhile. And I think, as I understand it, you actually do some hands-on cooking classes afterwards.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do there's a hands-on cooking class in Phnom Penh where the guests get to go to the market and then go back and cook their lunch.
Yeah.
But there's other ways we do that, like in the sense of in SADC, for example, rather than just walk through a wet market, which everyone tends to do at some stage, we actually play a game with the guests. We get them to our tour directors will give them a piece of paper, a Vietnamese phrase or a couple of words written on it, and it may or may not have a.
Sounds like my kind of a game. I like it.
May or may not have a numerical description on it, and basically what the guests have got to then do is say the word back in Vietnamese to the tour director until he's happy or she's happy with what they're saying. He then takes the piece of paper back off them, gives it some dong, which is the local currency,
yeah.
And then and as they walk through the market.
And what do they come back with, Adam?
They've actually got to go and buy it. So they've got to work out what it is that they're buying, then buy it. And then at the end of the walk through the market, everyone comes back together and it becomes a big show and tell us who's bought what and whether they got it correctly.
Sensational.
So bucket loads of tarantulas and fried locusts.
Well, there is one couple gets to buy a frog, and if they bought the frog correctly, that frog gets let go on the way back out of the ship.
Oh, glad you gave it a happy ending.
That is so great.
It's getting people involved. It's making them interact with the guests, with the locals, and the locals love it just as much as the guests do. So it's rather than just walking through, it's making an experience.
That is sensational. And so what about the tuk-tuk through the central market in Phnom Penh?
Yeah, so that's just another one of our free choices in Phnom Penh, where we sort of focus on the colonial aspects of the city itself and how it's changed over time. And then we finish that trip with a visit to the Art Deco style central market. So again, people can, it's a market, it's everything. It's from shirts to shorts to dishwashing to all sorts of food.
Wow. Picturing all the colours and the vibrancy that you're speaking of. And I believe that there's a lantern festival, there was a small ceremony to round that one off. Is that right?
Where we do making lanterns. There's a lantern making class we do in Hoi An. Which is another city which is very big on its food culture. Again, it's Burmese there. We make sure the guests have a street food lunch there as well, because Hoi An's known so much for that.
So Hoi An really is an amazing place because the building, it's a World Heritage Site. The buildings have been colored and restored. It was once occupied by the Japanese, which has given it a little bit of, they've got a fantastic Japanese bridge that crosses their river. And you are spot on, because I think it's called the banh mi capital of Vietnam, which means there are an awful lot of banh mi going out of those shops at lunchtime, right? And for those that don't know, banh mi is baguette, pate, meats and fresh herbs, all in a gorgeous baguette style roll. So
Yum.
Okay, lunchtime.
Oh my gosh, you're making me hungry. And also in that area, there are all those beautiful little ancient canals.
Yes,
and tiny little access points that you could just spend the day getting lost, really.
Yeah, we do have allocated spare time in Hoi An, because it is one of those people's favourite destinations in Vietnam. It's a place where you can go get tailors. It's really known for its tailors, so you can get things made there as well. So there's time built in for that.
Peter's already come prepared. Exactly. We love a little costume.
So we build in time for that. But the guests actually get a 1 hour spa treatment per day per guest over the 3 days we stay there at the hotel we stay at. It's all part of the relaxing part of the trip. And again, to go out and walk the streets of Hoi An at night time when the lanterns are all lit, and just while your time away at one of the small bars or restaurants, it's really, really relaxing.
Sounds absolutely fabulous. And I think you also do a cycling tour to a local farm where you can see the people fertilize the seaweed. I didn't know you had to do that. And you can join them in raking, sowing seeds and watering and picking the greens. Let's stay in the bars.
This is one of the free choice tours you can do. Is to say you can make some lanterns, or you can actually be a little more active and get on a bike and actually go out to some of the local villages and try the farming side of it or the fishing side, and you can get into one of the little circle boats and all that sort of type of thing. But it can be as adventurous as much as you want, or as relaxing as you want it to be.
And memory, Adam, these don't have to be difficult bicycle rides if you're not really.
No, it's very flat there. Yeah,
and I do believe
very flat.
On some of the scenic ships there are e-bikes available. Is that still the case?
In Europe, we don't do it in Asia just because of because
you eat so much, you need to work it off.
It's more what the roads and the areas are. You got to watch where you're walking all the time. So
fair enough. No, I'm sure
you got to have a bit of a active and slow a certain level of fitness to travel in Asia.
I so agree.
Work up an appetite too. Yeah,
that's for sure.
Another highlight, Hanoi, which is the world's oldest capital city, and again another historic location that really is just fantastic. The French Quarter, the Old Quarter, great places to explore.
Yeah, they're very good. Hanoi is one of those other cities where it's very easy to walk around. In the French Quarter, particularly the Old Quarter, which is just a maze of all these streets. For every street, its own little industry. It's again, it's another one of those places you can just leave yourself and spend, have plenty of free time to just soak up it's a different pace to what it is in Ho Chi Minh too. So some people prefer that to each other, but I think to experience both is the way to do it.
Only a million bicycles on the street. 2 million. And then there's one of my all-time favorites, which is a complete change. I think that's one of the joys, isn't it, of this itinerary?
Yeah.
Hundreds of rock islets just sticking out of the water and you cruising by.
Yeah, Halong Bay. Halong Bay again it can be one of the reasons why people do go to Vietnam to see this.
It's so famous. It's world renowned.
It is. It's World Heritage listed, and we spend 2 nights on the bay, and we do that on purpose to actually get away from the racetrack. So if everyone's been to Halong Bay and the boats all first go out, it's like a horse race. All the boats are jockeying for positions to get to the first port and that sort of stuff. So they all go that way, we go this way, and we go out deeper into the Halong Bay itself.
You do your hustle and bustle, and then you just have a little moment.
Yeah, away from that hustle and bustle, go deeper into the bay and get away from it, and have that 2-night luxury cruise out there.
And there is that moment actually when there are no ships around you, and it really is yours, and it's so peaceful, so traditionally lovely. I just never forget it. I mean, I can remember there's a passenger who has a great description of these things who said it was a screensaver moment.
Yes.
And it really is. I mean, all the photographs are just glorious to see.
Sunrise, sunset, just so that when you get that light reflecting off that karst scenery, it's magical. And because where we anchor to, there's no one else. So it is that real peaceful moment.
That you've done great cities, really great cities. You've done fantastic countryside. You've got a taste of the culture. You've met some of the local people, and then we move on to another country, basically.
Yeah,
no rest for the wicked.
Yeah, if you go to this region, you might as well do all 3 countries in one day.
Yeah, I mean that's the glory, isn't it?
In our China, it's where you're going.
Some people would argue that Laos is their favourite destination of all. So save the best till last. Yeah. Being UNESCO World Heritage City of tradition and vivid colours, and I believe a very, very rich history in Buddhist religion and heritage.
It's one of those countries they're very steeped in their Buddhist ways. It's particularly we do the morning alms ceremony, and there's a lot of temples within Luang Prabang itself. So you will see the monks everywhere in Luang Prabang, but it is very much they talk about island time and Fiji time and that sort of stuff, but there is a Lao time. There is a very thing happening at their own time in Lao, And
But start early in the morning. I mean, I
for
think
that, yes.
was
Well, they work on that, you know, that 8 hours. The last meal of the day is lunch, and they have a very early breakfast.
So it's 5 a.m. and I'm sitting by the roadside, and
Yeah.
suddenly, out of nowhere, these beautiful saffron-robed monks. And you know, the thing that I found so extraordinary was that a lot of them were, you know, what I would describe as kids, young people.
Yep.
So you've got this long line, and they walk past you, and they gratefully accept whatever you give them. Although I had a tip, which I'll pass on, I'm sure you know. So of course everyone brings rice, and generally the hotels give everyone rice. So you can imagine these kids are real. Yeah, great,
Oh,
another
not
dollar for
more
rice.
rice.
So I was told that if you gave them Tim Tams, they were really, really impressed. So and luckily, because of you know Australian heritage, we had some. So we actually, and you could see there was that like slight pause in the eyes as they said, "Oh my God."
Unless you've been sitting there for hours in the heat,
No,
and those
no,
Tim Tams
they
aren't
were-
looking so good.
They were perfect. And they have those special bags, don't they, which has a pot at the bottom so they can take the rice. They take some of your rice, scoop it up, and they push it because they can't take it all because the
Yes.
next monk needs some. So they scoop it up and they have their own bowl at the bottom of the bag. And, you know, by the end of it, and, you know, I had another really, really lovely experience because in the afternoon, I climbed one of the temples. And at the top, there were all these monks. Yep, you guessed it. They all had all their rice out, and they were all eating what they'd been given from alms. And so they
Aw.
just ushered us over and said, "Oh, come on, join us, join us, join us." And so we sat down, and we there were no Tim Tams, I have to tell you.
Wow, but what a moment.
But they were lovely. They just
Yeah.
invited us to sit down.
But that's the hospitality. Come
Very
on.
much.
Yep.
You're
But it-
here now. We're eating. You must eat.
But I also believe that Scenic really encourages organised ways for each guest to participate in giving alms and being involved in that. That's something that is absolutely encouraged as part of the journey. Am I right,
Yes,
Adam?
we do it in different places, different ways too. So on the Mekong, we rotate between different monasteries. So we don't just focus on the one monastery. So we actually, as part of the process, this is where we do our temple blessing and learn how to interact with monks and what to do's and do nots and that sort of stuff, and then receive a blessing as part of that. But we also do arrange with the monastery to do alms as well. So we teach them how to do alms. So if they do it later on when they're actually doing it out in the street as such, they know what to do. But we work with the monasteries to find out what they need at the time. So we're not just necessarily giving them rice. It may be a case of giving them toothpaste or any dishwashing liquid or clothes washing or whatever it is, this sort of thing. So and then the guests all line up and they learn how to do the alms process as well. And there's also part of that thing. Scenic also provides the meal for the monastery for that day.
Marvelous.
And I think the point you're making is well made, Adam. This isn't a tourist thing. This is real life. These monks are doing this because this is how they live, and the community takes care of them by giving them what they need. So it's not just laid on and some sort of archaic thing. It's actually part of what the community does to keep their monks.
Yeah.
I think the young people actually serve. It's not national service, but they are, as part of their schooling, they serve 2 weeks in a monastery as a monk. So they have to shave their heads, don the robes, and actually live like a monk for 2 weeks. So every one of the people in Laos will know exactly what a monastery is like to live in.
Exactly. And then we used to do the same on the Irrawaddy when I was operating. We used to rotate 3-4 different nunneries and do the similar sort of thing. And we'll get up early in the morning, 5:30 at Bagan, and do the real life arms there as well.
Yep.
But like one of our tour directors is a Mao, we call him Chairman Mao, and he spent a long time as a monk. And so obviously when we get to places like the Wat Hien Che, when we actually what the guides do, they actually get some of the novice monks to come and they interview the monks and get the guests get the opportunity to actually converse with a novice monk and find out why they're there, what's the situations brought them to be a monk at the age of 5 and 6 and 7. That sort of stuff.
I didn't get to do that. That would be fascinating.
And so it's a guess that because it's that really of one opportunity, and then they show each other and they show how they put the robes on and all that sort of stuff. So again, it's that in-depth look of how the lifestyle the people you're visiting and seeing, and the background and history behind it.
I have to say, I am absolutely sold on this. My only question remaining, Adam, is, Scenic offers a 9, 11, 13, 15, and even a 24-day cruise option, cruise and land. How on earth am I going to choose?
Well, this comes down to sitting out, and what we're finding now is we're getting repeat guests coming back and doing the Mekong cruise again. And they're coming back and doing the new 9-night version. So what it is basically a 7-night cruise, which is then slowed down. So there's more time on the ship, more time on the river. But we do, as to say, we have a length of cruises all the way through from an 11-day tour up to the 27-day tour. And really it's a case of people picking what they want to do, what they want to see, and where they want to go within Indochina, and then picking the tour which is relevant to what their needs and wishes and what they want to see and do on that trip. So it all feeds into the same cruise. So they're all doing exactly the same cruise, and everything that's in that cruise between Saigon and Hanoi is all Saigon and Siem Reap is still the same. It just depends what extra modules you want to add on and see as part of that trip.
We really talked about what's on the riverbank, but what about on the ship? So the Scenic Spirit is a very particular ship. I believe she was actually built in Vietnam. I think Scenic has its own yard in Vietnam for building ships. So it's not just a luxury vessel. It's actually tailored for the local area.
I believe she's one of the only purpose-built ships in the area.
She's a Scenic ship. She is owned by Glenn. She's owned, built, designed, and modelled off the European ships. So that she's built to the same European safety standards and everything. So they're not built to the local ones. They're built to the higher European standard. And with that, they're actually, as I say, they're built by a European shipbuilding crew. Is still now building ships in Hanoi for their ocean going. So for a sister company, Emerald Cruises. So they are purpose built for the regions. Same with Aura. She was built in Yangon. But Spirit is built for the Mekong. She's only has 68 guests on board. She has the largest leading cabins on board, 32 squares that I mentioned before. It's not just one room, it's a multi-room cabin with a balcony and walk-in wardrobe and all that sort of stuff.
Also, the way that they are designed, I believe Glenn's beautiful wife, Karen, does a lot of the interior.
She does all interior designing, yeah.
Five-star hotel is an understatement. You've got stunning local artworks. I love that they're local as well. All the natural light, and they're pre-treated fresh air that doesn't circulate to other suites. It's all ventilated. It
really
is
important nowadays.
It's all
it's
behind
very
the
much
scenes
so.
details. That's really quite incredible.
And the vitality pool. So when you've been out during you're out doing the touring in the morning, and you come back and boarded hot, you just go jump straight back into your pool and have a drink brought to you.
Got to say, mine's the Royal Panorama Suite.
Yeah, so 80 square meters.
I'm a faster runner than
it's got its own jacuzzi and everything at the front. It's bigger than some units in Sydney. And they're right at the front of the ship, so you can actually lay out in the jacuzzi and watch where you're going.
Yes, a jacuzzi on a private terrace.
With 180-degree views.
Everything on board is fully inclusive. So, your food, your drinks, everything's included. So it's part of all your touring. So you don't have to raise the finger for anything. You've got a butler who serves. Everyone has a butler. So I don't know what cabin you're in.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone gets their own butler.
That's
if you want your drink brought to your cabin, or you want to drink anywhere up behind me.
If you know this about Peter, he's a total lush. He loves to have his shoes shined. Shone?
Yes, every time you come back on board, that's done for you.
Unbelievable. I'm a bit of a fan of having my laundry done for me. That's my ultimate luxury. I don't have to do any of my washing on board. Even for a 9-night cruise, I need fresh laundry.
Well, the beauty we have around laundry on board. So what it means, particularly those who are doing the longer trips, when they come down from Hanoi and they finally get onto the ship after 10 days of touring.
Yes,
their laundry, they can go refresh the travel bags, so they can start the cruise with fresh laundry.
Such a practical
it's something it's something so basic and useful, people overlook, but once they've used it, and it's like, oh, how good's this?
I'm loving all of this. So to get Rose out of that jacuzzi, we need to talk about the food.
Oh,
and of
you've got
course,
me.
again, there's that unique French influence and
Yep.
local
Okay.
food.
Jacuzzi's all yours, Peter.
and
I'll be in the restaurant.
And I think Scenic sources the flavors and experiences firsthand from the local population.
Yeah, it is. Like we have our own herb garden on board, or the breads and ice creams are all made freshly on
Yes.
board.
Is that behind
Um,
you there on screen? We can see.
Yeah, it actually
for
will be
those
just the herb
listening.
gardens is
Yeah.
up in the back
Adam
in the middle
has
there.
the
There's actually
chip.
Looks like a
Um,
forest.
It does. It's fantastic. So
So
does that
it's
when you taste test everything on board as well,
well,
Adam?
not necessarily taste test, but certainly try all different ways. I mean, you got the degustation dinner for the captain's table, which
They won't be
yes.
having
we
barbecue.
try that as well. You can eat just at the River Cafe, or obviously at the Crystal Dining Room.
Local seafood is a very,
Oh,
very big thing, right?
yes.
Oh, definitely. It's all sourced locally. It's all freshly made. It's all.
And it's quite abundant in that region as well, I
Well,
believe.
Yeah.
You go to the fish farms, right? And you can actually see the farm.
Yeah, and those fish are exported
The
around the
lakeshore
world.
fish.
It's
Yes.
a lot of people chips on the weekend will probably find they're eating somewhere the fish gone.
Well, and I believe that there are local tarantulas served as well. Is this
Yes.
Oh,
Again, it's-
seriously?
Au naturel, probably.
You're
So
kidding.
as we leave Cambodia or coming into in Phnom Penh, we serve a Cambodian street food. So all the different, on board you can have as local or as Western food as you want. There's always Western choices, there's staple choices, but then there's always obviously Asian and different
Is that the
local
equivalent
dishes,
saying,
and one of
"I'll
those
have
is
the
the street food.
tarantula, please, Jarrell, with fries.
Yeah.
So when you do street food, you walk in and there's big plates of cockroaches, there's big plates of crickets
Oh my
and the
God.
frogs and the
That is so Indiana
Aussie
Jones.
trenches and that. And there was one cruise I actually got down to lunch late, and most of the stuff had actually been eaten. And
Whoa.
Really?
and then that night at the port call, I actually asked, so who tried the Cambodian street food fare today? And probably about 3/4 of the guests
Oh
on board
my
put their hands up and said,
Well, I
Well
suppose
done.
that's the style of traveller, though. If
Absolutely.
you are choosing that as a destination, you need to be a fairly adventurous character
yeah,
to start with.
Tarantulas would be a snack with
as I
bite.
say, you can be as adventurous, you can have your spicy or not spicy as you want.
Unbelievable. Okay, so tell us what else other than the tarantulas for those that want something a little more safe or al fresco, perhaps. What's on board?
Yeah, as I say, like the River Cafe. So if you don't want to go down to the main meal, you can get something just from quickly get it from the River Cafe and eat it in the lounge as well, or have a hamburger back in your suite. So there's plenty of choices there. What you can
Tarantula hamburger.
No.
And the crew guest ratio is an amazing 1-to-1.
Oh,
Yep. So again, this is where Scenic has a huge advantage. Is we employ all our own cruise staff, our tour directors as well as all employed by Scenic. So we have that oversight, and because we've got our own officers and operations on the ground, we're involved in their training. We're involved in teaching and upskilling everyone on board. From usually all hospitality is Khmer and nautical is Vietnamese. But we cross-train them between all the different ships. We've had staff go to Europe. We've had Europe staff come to us. We've actually even got Burmese staff at the moment because Aura's not operating. We've got Burmese staff come across and working on the ships on the Mekong to keep them going as well. Because they're our staff, we want to look after them as well, just as well as they want to look after the guests, because they've got a vested interest in delivering. So it's why the Asian river ships are some of the highest rated Scenic ships of the fleet, and we actually have guests who have done cruises in Europe.
Well,
come on board in Asia, and they say this is the best cruise we've done.
Yes, I don't think many of our listeners would realise that a number of lines actually just simply rent whole crews. So
They just hire the
they're
ships.
wearing the uniform, but they're actually got nothing to do.
Nothing to do with them.
I know that I know because I've interviewed scenic crews all over Europe, and how important that is, because they get special rewards for training and for
and we do training sessions
Yeah.
in a season before season. We actually, I go over as well, and we get all the tour directors, and we go through all different training scenarios and things like that. It's all about making sure our service delivery is top notch.
We're right across it, because of course cruise passenger readers voted Scenic the best luxury river cruise line last year in our cruise awards, which
I voted at least 25 times.
We've won multiple awards. We've won the best river cruise itinerary, the British Cruise Awards. We've only just literally won the World Cruise Awards for the best Asian ship and best Asian cabin. So I think that all comes because these are all guest voted too. So when we've got Cruise Critic 5-star rated. So no other boat on the river in the Mekong is a 5-star rated ship.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I think
because of that delivery and what we do.
If we'd known about the tarantulas, we would have given you an award as well.
Well, I'm very impressed by the sounds of the ship, and you had me at the Vitality pool, I have to say. And all of this is on offer despite it being a small luxury ship. I mean, that really is extraordinary, just how much you can manage to achieve in the small space.
Small, it means you can get to places, you can do things. It's just a small group. You can do those activities which the large groups would not be able to do. And it's a lot easier for the group to bond it and obviously get on with the local guides as well.
Not to mention the fact that you've squeezed in 3 countries.
Yes.
We're the only luxury operator to go to Laos. So if you want to do the full Indochina product at a luxury level, Scenic's the way to do it.
And I'd certainly recommend it because they're very different. They are not the same.
No, every country is very much different, for sure.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I am sold. I've said this now several times. Hint, hint, Adam, get me on the next cruise. I guess I have to ask, though, if you had to name a highlight, just one highlight that cannot be missed by anyone wanting this cruise, what would it be?
Well, they're all included. so
you can't
yes, they don't miss them. So, we design it so all those highlights are there. So, obviously, there's going to be things which you're going to remember, and particularly mentioned at the temple dinner, something you'll dine out on that dining experience for a long time to come. But yeah, we purposely build everything. I can't pick a favourite city in amongst it all. For a lot of the cities we spoke about, they've all got their local charms. They're all different. And the beauty of the itinerary is you are seeing different things all the time. One day to the next is not the same.
I'm kind of tossing up between, the idea of riding around at night, wild and free in the back of a tuk, or being, ceremoniously blessed in a spiritual moment by a Buddhist monk. I'm wondering, can I combine the two? That's so many.
If you're in the room walk with Chairman Mao, that might work.
Just a tiny request. Oh wow, it sounds absolutely extraordinary, and just what an incredible example of what Scenic has to offer.
Yeah, it's an amazing trip, and I must say, as we've said, you get cities, you get the local population, you get that amazing cultural feeling in Laos at Luang Prabang. I mean, I still really find that ceremony with the monks is one of the most moving anywhere in Southeast Asia, and shows that extraordinary community spirit that binds these people together. They absolutely feed and clothe and basically take care of their monks. And we're in 2023.
They're very, very family orientated, community orientated as well. So it shows that all comes across in the itinerary.
So Scenic offers plenty of free choice, and free choice is really a description of what your shore excursions are. Is that right?
It is. I mean, it's a case of not everyone wants to see the same thing. Not everyone's capable of seeing the same thing. So probably a good example there is in Phnom Penh. One of the choices is to go to the killing fields. Now that's not for everyone, but it is an important thing to see and understand what happened in Cambodia, and every guide has their own story to tell about it. but it's not for everyone. And so there are other options to do. So instead of doing that, you can do the remortgage trip and the architecture, or you can do the cooking lesson, or not everyone wants to do a Vespa trip, and they might just want to do a normal restaurant. Yeah, so it's up to you.
It's culturally sensitive and
exactly, and everyone's different. Everyone has their own interests and wants and sees and do's, and this is our way of covering off that everyone's wish. We always include the must-sees, like the Royal Palace in Phnom Penh. But the things where people might go, I might be more inclined to do this or that, and that's what we can do.
Adam, I can only imagine that list is ever evolving. Thanks.
It is.
Yes, I was going to say, it must give you a lot of satisfaction to go and see how people are doing the things you chose, really, or your.
It is. And I mentioned before, like, when I've been at the temple dinners and they line up afterwards to tell me how much they enjoyed that dinner, and not just the dinner, because that was an actual upstream, so that was the last dinner of the cruise. So how much they enjoyed everything they did on the cruise. But I read every feedback on every cruise and see what's working, what's not working, and to actually see that feedback. It does give you a satisfaction that you've had someone's special moments.
Rewarding moment to seeing the smiles on people's faces. But now, to put a smile on people's faces, there are some very special deals that make booking now a very smart idea. Tell us about this, Adam.
So basically, these are our early bird specials, and super early bird, you actually save up to $4,000 per person, particularly on the 9-night cruises, which operate during our green season.
That's amazing.
So basically, you're getting a 9-night cruise for the price of 7. Wow. So these happen now, and then so we've got people coming back and doing this. They've already done the cruise, coming back and doing this again.
Is that the 9-night river cruise that also has the accompanying land journey?
Yes, like they all do. So you can do the same sort of land touring on the 9-night or the 7-night. They're all offered on the same. It's just a different cruise at a different time of year.
And I think really important that there's no single supplement on some journeys.
There's certain select departures where because there's such small ships. There is no single cabins, but there's certain times we work it so we can get single passengers to come on board for that.
Fantastic. So for anyone wanting all the info on that, then just jump onto scenic.com.au. That's scenic.com.au. Everything you need to know is right there. Adam, what an absolute pleasure it has been
fabulous
chatting with you today. Thank you.
It's been a ball. Enjoyed it.
Experience sounds a wonderful trip.
Take me there. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.
And the next edition of Cruise and Travel, our gorgeous print magazine, is on sale now at selected newsagents, or better still, subscribe at cruisepassenger.com.au/magazine, and you can have it home delivered.
And sign up to our newsletter for river cruising and ocean at cruisepassenger.com.au/newsletters. See you next time on Board, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Well done, Peter. I have to say, I'm off to see the early bird bookings.
I knew you would be.
Scenic.com.au.
That jacuzzi is yours.
So, really? I thought we were going to have a toss a tarantula for it. Okay, that's just because you're hitting the restaurants. I know you.
Absolutely.
Okay. See you next week, guys.
See you next week. Thanks for listening.
Oh, I just dropped my pith. Amazing.